Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Ill Blur Matic Shooby-Doo-Doo. Oh yeah. Welcome back to Ill Blur Matic, guys. Welcome back. And today's new movie review is going to be on Boys in the Hood. Let's get right into it. So, the movie starts off with Trey Styles. Trey Styles is a young man. We see him pretty much being kind of a very bright young student, student at school. We also see him, going to school with his friends. But once he gets to class, things take a turn. Pretty much he's teaching the class due to pretty much being disruptive. And pretty much he gets into a scuffle with one of his other classmates that he walks home from to school with. And pretty much the teacher calls home and figure out what is going on. And we see that the teacher calls his mother, which is played by Angela Bassett. Reva is his mother. She's trying to get her master's. She's trying to make a better living for Trey in her living circumstances. So I did like that they showed that she was ambitious and she's trying to get her education. That was really cool. So now pretty much when Trey gets home, he's in trouble because he broke the promises that he made to his mother, and pretty much she ends up to send him off to go live with his father. But before that, they have a conversation in the car, and pretty much she's saying, like, this will probably be better for you because him not having a father figure at home, maybe that's why Trey is acting out, not because pretty much the other things, that could be possibly why, So now he's pretty much over at his father's house, and literally we see how things operate over his father's house. On the first day, his father talks to his mother so they can get an understanding of what's going to happen and what is going to happen towards the time when Trey can come back and live with his mother. But also we see the father pretty much say, go play with your friends. And pretty much we see on the first day, Trey raking leaves by himself. His friends Doughboy and Chris did not want to rake leaves, so he had to rake all the leaves by himself. But now the next part of this film is going to be about some of the things that he faced over his father's house. The first thing I would like to say is pretty much the situation when someone tried to break into his father's house. And pretty much his father knew something was going on. And I love how the music plays a factor with this movie really well. The music changes when it gets very thematic. And I was like, oh, and we see the father pretty much get the person to get out the house. And the only thing that's left is the shoe. The person got away. All they had was the shoe. I was like, wow. Also, we see pretty much the upbringing of his friends, Ricky, and also pretty much, what's the name? Doughboy. And pretty much with them, they live with their mother. Their mother is pretty much the one running the show at the household, and she is pretty much like furious. She's like, always like seems like she's not really happy, and just to some degree, and she's always, making fun of Doughboy to some degree too, because how big he is. And we just see how, I guess you could say, how pretty much Doughboy is treated and how Ricky's treated. Ricky's not treated as bad as Doughboy because Doughboy is the one that's always causing trouble. So we do see that. Also, we see in this part of the film is when they finally see an actual dead body, you know what I'm saying? And they come across these older black people that live in the neighborhood that are like in their mid-20s. And literally how they're saying, hey, that body ain't bothering you. Don't bother it, you know what I'm saying? And we see Ricky pretty much giving a football to one of the older cats in the neighborhood. And pretty much Doughboy said, you ain't getting that ball back. You know what I'm saying? And Ricky kind of complained about the ball because the ball had a sentimental value to him because that was the last thing his father gave him. But also we see in this film that Doughboy protecting his brother, you know what I'm saying, fighting to get the ball back. He eventually gets the ball back, not from the guy that took the ball and not gave it back to him, the football, but pretty much the other guy, And pretty much Trey saying, hey, look, I can give you my football, but pretty much it wouldn't amount to anything because that football has sentimental value to it. So now pretty much we see that, and now we're introduced to kind of pretty much Furious Styles. We see him telling his son, you don't have to be a product of your environment. Most of his friends started to get into a life of crime and doing the wrong things. Some of his friends rob people for a living. Some of them kill people for a living. And he also talked about his son not joining the armed forces pretty much. He did not want his son to be a property, being a soldier, because he knew how that went down. Just giving his son knowledge and gems, you know what I'm saying? And I think that was really cool that he gave that to his son. But now when he gets back home, pretty much him and his dad pull up to the house, and who's getting arrested? It's Chris and Doughboy for stealing. We see them getting handcuffed, and ooh, child, things are gonna get easier. They play that song literally, and pretty much we see it goes off into 7 years later, and pretty much Doughboy's welcome home party. Pretty much he's come back. Doughboy is now played by an older person. Ice Cube is playing Doughboy now. Pretty much Trey is played by pretty much Cuba Gooding Jr. And pretty much the last person, Ricky, is played by Morris Chestnut. And Chris is played by another actor too, by the way. So pretty much we see Trey get to the party, or I should say coming home party, and pretty much the mother of Doughboy saying, go talk to your friend, try to talk some sense into him, meaning that pretty much Doughboy is a hustler. He's making money just by hustling. That's what he's doing for a living. You know, and he's not on the same path as his brother. We also see a drastic change. Pretty much Trey is not best friends with Doughboy anymore. It's more so with Ricky, because him and Ricky are going to school together. They're in high school, and pretty much we see them kind of get their lives together. To some degree, we see pretty much Trey, he's, you know, working a regular job at the mall. Ricky's trying to become a football player for like a college. So I did like that they showed that the friends had aspirations. Two of the friends, the other two friends, they were just more into the street life. And we saw that with Doughboy and Chris. Doughboy, you know what I'm saying, making money all on the streets. We see Chris, the other friend, pretty much he's handicapped now due to probably some violence they got into with someone in the neighborhood in LA. So four friends, two of them going the street life, the other two friends going to college and going to school. So there is some differences between the friends. Also, we see pretty much the frustration. We see pretty much Ricky being frustrated taking the SAT. And I can relate to that. Like, the SAT was one of those tests, like, man, you know what I'm saying? And I can see the frustration with it. Whereas with Trey seems to kind of like be prepared for the SAT. And we see how it is. Like, they have you sitting down, number 2 pencil, that type of stuff. Also, what I liked about this is literally we see pretty much Ricky getting an opportunity. You know what I'm saying? His opportunity. The college recruiter wants him. He comes to the house where Doughboy and all of them are staying, or Doughboy and some of Doughboy's crew are there. And pretty much he's like, is Ricky here? And he said, yeah, that's my brother. And so he pretty much tells, Ricky that he's got company. And literally we see Ricky proud, Ricky being a football player. He's football driven, and the college recruiter's like, you don't got nothing else besides football, you know what I'm saying? Like, this may not be the thing. This might not, you don't have no other, like, aspirations and stuff like that. So the college recruiter, is, like, telling them, like, maybe you should have other things. And he's like, oh, well, my boy Trey, he's into this type of stuff. He's into, business and electronics and stuff. So we do see that maybe Ricky wanted to make a change. But that is quite short due to pretty much one of the rival crews that the Doughboy had issues with. We see that throughout the film. It's cut short. We see pretty much what happens is Ricky was supposed to have been going to the store with Doughboy, And what happened to Doughboy? Doughboy didn't want to go, so who went with Ricky? Excuse me, is pretty much Trey. Trey goes, and what happens is pretty much it's a drive-by. So we see Trey, pretty much him and Ricky splitting up because the car is following them. This is the same car that pretty much was following Trey from the pretty much Western Night Doughboys party. And pretty much we see one of the guys in the car shoot Ricky, and pretty much we see it. He's like, Ricky! And we see that pretty much Trey is frustrated. He lost his friend, and they bring him back to the house. And we can see how emotional it is. His mother is crying. She's blaming Doughboy for his situation, for him being involved in the streets probably. We see the girlfriend crying, the baby crying. Like, man, that's traumatizing. You in the room, you have the baby in there with the dead body. That's crazy, man. That is crazy. But also we see pretty much Doughboy taking revenge. Pretty much he ends up talking about, telling Trey, come with me. We about to go get these people that did it. Pretty much Doughboy does pick up Trey. Trey's in the car riding with pretty much Doughboy and his crew. But Trey's not about that life, so Trey gets out the vehicle. Luckily, he got out the vehicle because I don't think he would have had the heart to do any of that stuff. And we see pretty much Doughboy finding the guys. They're like at this burger joint sitting down, having conversations and stuff. And pretty much they figure out that someone's trying to get them. And pretty much Ice Cube pops each and every one of them. The one guy pleads for his life. He said, it wasn't me. It was the other guy. I had nothing to do with it. The older guy that was kind of like the head of the crew. And pretty much we see after that, pretty much Doughboy and pretty much Trey kind of coming together. And he's like, you're the only brother I got now. And I think what happened is all the other guys that hung out with Doughboy they end up dying somehow. And pretty much we are ended with pretty much Trey. I forgot to mention his girlfriend. They end up going to college not too far from each other. Doughboy ended up dying not a few weeks after his brother's funeral. And I gotta say, this was definitely, like I said, John Singleton did a great job with this film. I gotta say, I'm giving this film an A+. Like, it dealt with a lot of urban realism. Gentrification, I forgot to mention about that too, but also just you don't have to follow the same path other people are following because you come from that environment that you're from, but also just the characters. Like, I like how they pit the characters, the themes, like the police, also pretty much just the different types of friends and stuff like that. We see that some people's friends veer off in the wrong lifestyle, some stay on a decent path. That happens in life. But like I said, I gotta give this film that for what it was. It was definitely something that you see in urban environments. And like I said, shouts out to IMJ. Thanks for the suggestion. Until next time, guys, have a great one. I'm out. Illblurmatic and the saga continues. Oh yeah.